Hi, Dave Albury here. I am a Ruby ambassador with Plexus Worldwide. And if you're watching this video, you're here to hear all about what leaky gut is. You may have used the term leaky gut, you may have heard of leaky gut, and maybe it doesn't make any sense to you. Just like the little picture that I included with this text, the guy with all the holes in his body. That's a little bit more dramatic than what's actually happening. But when we think about leaky gut, and when I explain to you what causes it and what's happening, it is kind of a really unhealthy thing for your body. And the actual medical term, I guess you could call it, for leaky gut is increased intestinal permeability. So that sounds very formal, but that is what it is called. Leaky gut is just kind of like the street language, I guess you could call it, for leaky gut. And I have some cheat sheets here because I don't want to leave anything out. I want to make sure I cover everything for you in the little bit of time that we have together. So leaky gut is essentially an inflammatory condition that affects the lining of your gut. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about what that means and how it is affecting you. And you may hear some of these things and are like, oh my gosh, it sounds like me. The lining of your gut is in some ways a very strong thing and in many ways a very delicate thing. It's only one cell thick, but it is designed to keep the bad stuff inside the digestive tract to be eliminated, and so that it doesn't allow those things to go into the bloodstream and affect our health. When we think about leaky gut, we have to start with the digestive anatomy. So we all eat things or drink things. And when we eat and drink or consume food, that food most of the time, just about all the time, is going to have stowaways on it. Other things like bacteria, viruses, other toxins, things that kind of travel that we aren't aware of. And those things go into our bodies and head right, straight down to the small intestine. And what should be happening, and in most cases it does until we start having issues, is that that gut lining is separating those bad things and keeping them inside, like I said, and allowing, the nutrients from your food, the things you're consuming, to go into your body and feed you. What I like to do is use the analogy of a tea bag when you're thinking about the lining of your gut. I think we all know what a tea bag is, and think of it this way. The tea bag is usually like a cloth kind of texture, and it's designed to keep the tea leaves inside the bag. So when you're making a cup of tea, you get the color, the nutrients, the flavor, all that stuff goes through into the water, and you're able to enjoy a cup of tea. Because nobody wants to have a bunch of tea leaves in their mouth while they're trying to drink a cup of tea. It's going to make a very unpleasant experience. Same thing, same concept. We're trying to keep the bad stuff in, like the tea leaves inside the bag. Your gut, the collection of bacteria and all those things inside your body, it's called a microbiome. And your gut microbiome is filled with billions of bacteria. And these bacteria, this microbiome, they're actually, if you have a healthy, balanced microbiome, part of its job is to actually strengthen the lining of the gut. But when we start to have something that's called dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in the gut or leaky gut, that's when we start to notice health issues, and that can be things that develop over time. But this weakening of the gut lining, it can be caused by environmental factors as well. Things like stress, medicines like antibiotics and oral contraceptives, food additives, and alcohol even. These things can lead to that imbalance or the weakening of the lining of your gut. And this is going to start to trigger or cause another condition in your body called inflammation. Now, we like to talk about inflammation a lot in the Plexus world when we're talking about gut health, but a lot of people really don't understand what inflammation is. I mean, you don't wake up at the beginning of the day and you're like, oh, my inflammation is just so bad today. What you might be saying to yourself is, oh, I've got a migraine today. Oh, my headaches are acting up. Oh, my joint pain. I've got horrible, digestive issues today. Or why can't I lose this weight? So those are all things that are tied to inflammation, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in just a second. But the lining of your gut also has junctures in it, if you will, because it's divided into sections and you can't see them unless you're looking at a microscope. And another analogy, so we talked about the tea bag, but think about Velcro, a very tight knit Velcro. So as that gut lining is being weakened by, the pathogens that you might be eating or drinking with food, or those environmental factors that we just talked about, that tight knit Velcro begins to weaken. So you've got these microscopic openings. Going back to that picture of the guy in the text, you don't have big holes, it's microscopic, allowing very tiny particles to pass through into the bloodstream. So what this is doing when that happens, it's triggering your immune system, something that's very natural and normal, the way our bodies were designed. So what happens is the brain is triggered through the vagus nerve, because you sometimes will hear that your gut is your second brain, and they are connected by the vagus nerve. So there are signals going back and forth constantly. Well, what's happening is your body is sending a signal up to the brain through the vagus nerve, hey, there are some intruders in here. And your body deploys its soldiers to go after those toxins, those pathogens, to attack them. And this is sometimes that process doesn't switch off. And that is where we start to experience inflammation. And when that doesn't switch off, it's going to start triggering these autoimmune responses in the body. And they can affect a host of systems in the body. Going back to, you're not waking up in the morning thinking, oh, my inflammation's out of control today. No, what you're thinking is, I've got stomach issues. My knees, my joints are killing me today. I'm fatigued. I'm tired. I can't get through this day. I've got bloating. You've got gas. People suffer with migraines or chronic headaches all the time, or going back to weight. That person that just can't lose that 15, 20 pounds that they're struggling to lose. These are all part of these autoimmune responses that are now part of this inflammatory thing going on in our bodies. And it's all because of going back to a weakened lining of the gut, or leaky gut, or intestinal permeability. So the thing I think that's most important to remember is when leaky gut remains unchecked, it's going to lead to body-wide inflammation. But that is why I love what I do and why I'm so passionate about our products. This is something I've been doing for 5 years, and it's one of the main things that we focus on. Well, one of 3 main things: blood sugar balance, inflammation, and gut health. But again, people don't wake up talking about inflammation. And most of us think about inflammation as, if you injure yourself and you get a bump and it's, can, hurt a little bit for a while. That's how we think about inflammation, but we aren't thinking about that chronic inflammation that's going on in the body, and that it's tied to a compromised or weakened gut lining and causing this intestinal permeability. So we want to begin the process of turning the clock back. And that's why I love these products and why I fall in love with them. Ingredients backed by science that are beginning to heal the body. And it's not something that happens quickly for everybody. I work with people that, they see change within weeks. I work with people that, like myself, it took a couple of months. Your body is a very complicated thing, and we don't want to rush that. So the key to healing the lining of the gut, reversing leaky gut, and reversing inflammation in the body is consistency and patience. I hope that that explanation of leaky gut has helped. and has made a little bit of sense to you. If you want to know more about Plexus products and if any of that stuff resonated with you, let's have another conversation and talk about ways that we can help you by jumping on and starting to use one of our systems and beginning to heal that leaky gut. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.